Nick Script, P2W Fantasy. I have the team here. We're talking some Dynasty sells and why. I'll kick things off here. I think Terry McLaurin is a sell. And if we look at some of the positives, he's had 120 targets for 3 straight seasons. He's been over 1,000 receiving yards for 3 straight seasons. But when we look strictly at fantasy football numbers, he's averaged 13.5, 12.6, 14.9, and 13.7 fantasy points per game. He's been over the 20 mark, 4 points per game, in 3 out of 4 of those seasons. So where I think at times he is valued closer to like wide receiver 12, wide receiver 15, he's really not hitting that mark. And if we look at this coming season, I see 2 things. Number one, Sam Howell, who I do like, should be the starter in his first season. That can come with some murky quarterback play at times. And then number 2, I wouldn't be surprised if Jahan Dotson, maybe a hot take, starts to eat into that target share and have more of an impact on Terry McLaurin as an alpha there. So again, I'm concerned about the points per game never really being like that elite, but considered a pretty good elite option. The quarterback play and a teammate potentially cutting into him being an alpha there. So Terry McLaurin's a guy I'm looking to sell in Dynasty leagues.
John McGlynn, P2W Fantasy, with an unfortunate redraft and Dynasty sell. I can't do it myself, so I have to have my assistant, my daughter, Katie McGlynn, help me out with this one. Katie.
Chris Godwin is a sell in Dynasty because over the last 2 years, he has had a 128 and 142 targets within an 85.9 catchable target rate in 2022. Without the GOAT, Tom Brady peppering Godwin with targets, expect a dramatic decrease in volume. Catching passes from Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask just won't have the same outcome. My dad's man crush, Chris Godwin, is unfortunately a sell.
So Chris Godwin, P2W Fantasy, John McGlynn.
Jesse Moeller, and here is why T. Higgins is my Dynasty sell. He's going off the board at the 308 as the wide receiver 10 in Dynasty, and that's ahead of Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and my only question is, why? He's never put up a 24% target share in his career, and he's never had more than 111 targets in a season. Now, he's dealt with some injuries on occasion, so he's missed a few games, but that's still no excuse why he's valued as high as he is, and he has not given the elite production. Last year, he averaged 13.8 points per game. His expected points per game were 11.5. And being the wide receiver 2 on his own team, behind Jamar Chase, he's never going to hit that truly elite ceiling. So, at his price, he's an immediate sell for me. If you want a cheaper version of him, just go get Devontae Smith in Philadelphia. He's like the same player, just cheaper. So, anyways, that's why T. Higgins is my Dynasty sell in 2023.
What's going on, everybody? This is Colin McTamaney live from my truck on a beautiful Friday morning. It's also a beautiful day to sell George Pickens in Dynasty. This is a guy that just had a 15.3% target share on his team and drew 8 targets just twice last year as a rookie on the Steelers. In fact, after their Week 9 bye, he averaged only 4.55 targets per game. Now, he's going to be battling Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson, Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, and Darnell Washington in the passing game this year. And the Steelers only passed at the 16th highest rate last year, but rushed at the 10th highest rate. And they even drafted offensive tackle Broderick Jones in the first round this year, which leads me to believe they're going to run the ball more. I also don't know if I believe in Kenny Pickett yet. We still need to see more of him at the quarterback position. I just don't know if George Pickens is ever going to be the alpha wide receiver in fantasy football that we want him to be. 9.8 fantasy points last year. I just don't know what his ceiling is yet. Now, the hype is still pretty high. You think of George Pickens, you think of some amazing circus catches last year and the potential he has. I would trade him while the hype is high and ahead of a year where I just don't know if he's going to rack up that many fantasy points.
What's good, guys? It's Brandon Blanco with the P2W Fantasy Network, and I have one Dynasty sell for you. You might hate it, but hear me out. This player has had 7 straight seasons of over 1,000 yards and just had career highs in receptions and touchdowns. This player is also age 33. He's probably the best at his position, but at age 33, that decline is coming sooner than later, and I would like to hop out before it comes. You can sell this player for a Pat Freiermuth plus assets, or maybe a Jahan Dotson plus assets, or maybe even send them to the Patrick Mahomes manager. And the player I'm talking about is Travis Kelce.